Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 230 based on novel. So let's start. Amitabha Monastery was breezy and the Buddhas on the mountain peak looked at those sheer cliffs and precipitous rock faces that got blown out. Dharma King wanted to raise his hands to stop him, but the battle had already ended. The speed in which Qin Mu had flipped his hands was too fast, and just as he was about to interfere, Qin Mu had already stopped. He could only put his hands down. The Buddhas of the other heavens revealed looks of astonishment. They pulled back their gaze and looked towards Qin Mu. Third ancestor human emperor's yin-yang heaven flipping hands was truly a heaven-defying divine art. The speed of this divine art was so explosive and fast that nobody could have the time to even react over. When Qin Mu had executed this kind of mudra skill, it was truly faster than flipping the pages of a book. Suddenly, those cliffs that were dozens of miles away crumbled. The cliffs cracked and the huge rocks fell, landing on the ground and giving off dull thuds after quite some time. Qin Mu was too fast and too fierce just now. It was originally a mountain peak, but now they were cliffs from his thrashing. The cliffs were crumbling now, because the mountain rocks had turned brittle from Qin Mu's yin-yang heaven flipping hands. However, even though the mountain cliffs had crumbled, Crown Prince Guang still didn't show himself. Monk Mingxin was uneasy and he whispered close to Qin Mu's ears, "Senior brother Qin, did you beat him to death?" "Not yet," Qin Mu said with a low voice. "I've been easy on him as I was afraid of having to explain myself. His cultivation was extremely powerful and no weaker than Grandmaster of Roland's Golden Palace. He just wasn't as intelligent as Grandmaster, thus I had used only 80% of my power and didn't kill him. However, most of his bones are fractured. This Crown Prince Guang's abilities are truly powerful. I really don't dare to underestimate the heroes of this world." He revealed a look of admiration. Monk Mingxin stared with his eyes wide open. 80% of your power. Don't dare to underestimate the heroes of the world. Cult Master Qin can really anger a person to death with his humbleness. Luckily, Crown Prince Guang had already fainted, or else his soul would definitely scatter from anger. He didn't know Qin Mu was truly humble, and he wasn't just acting. After all, Qin Mu was incomparably arrogant and felt that he was the overlord body. If his opponent could be a match for him, they must have put in a lot of hard work and spent countless long hours to cultivate to where they were. To this kind of opponent, they naturally deserved to be respected. As for what other people think, he didn't really care. In any way, that was what he felt. Dharma King waved his hands and those cliffs that were dozens of miles away exploded. Crown Prince Guang had suffered heavy injuries as he laid among the cliffs. He had fainted and slowly flew over as he got lifted up by his magic power. Crown Prince Guang landed on the ground and Dharma King Mo Lun checked his injuries. His expression sank. "Didn't layperson Qin had planned to compete with your sword skills? Why did you execute a mudra skill? I can't help but suspect that you wanted to land a sneak attack on him. And such ruthless methods. How is it the style of being merciful in our Buddhism?" Qin Mu looked at Mingxin and Monk Mingxin hurriedly said, "When senior brother Qin used a sword pellet earlier, he got called out for being evil and cultivating an unorthodox path, therefore he didn't dare to use his sword pellet, and could only use mudra skill. Buddha, is this mudra skill also evil and unorthodox?" Dharma King Mo Lun didn't reply. When Qin Mu had used the sword pellet just now, he was the one who said it was unorthodox, and yet Crown Prince Guang wanted to compete with Qin Mu using swords. This time, Qin Mu had used proper mudra skill, and yin-yang heaven flipping hands was an authentic mudra skill. If he was to say it was evil and unorthodox, that would be quite a joke. However, he was still holding a grudge in his heart. Crown Prince Yu Guang was his descendant and an outstanding figure in the later generation. He didn't have time to execute his abilities and got caught off guard by Qin Mu. He got beaten all the way and through the face of the celestial heavens. The abilities of Yu Guang wasn't weak. It was because he had the wrong expectation and thought Qin Mu was greeting him. He didn't try to defend. If Crown Prince Yu Guang was extremely energetic at the start, with the looks of Qin Mu's current abilities, it was hard to say who would lose to who. Dharma King Mo Lun was looking at the other Buddhas and he said with a smile, even though the Buddhism in the lower bound is forced to locate in one corner, their Buddhism divine arts wasn't neglected. Truly admirable. Senior brothers, since they are here to seek knowledge, why don't we just give it to them? The Buddhas nodded their heads in acknowledgement. Dharma King Mo Lun smiled at Qin Mu and the rest. This Kandra heaven of ours have Kandra scripture, and what we cultivate is the Kandra scriptures, cultivating the techniques of true Buddha. There are 3,000 scriptures among Kandra scriptures. You guys can't take them away, so just stay in my Amitabha monastery for 100 years to comprehend them all. Once you are done, you can impart them to the lower bound, and that would be a huge merit of mine. Monk Mingxin's face changed slightly. 3,000 Buddhist scriptures, 100 years of comprehension, furthermore, they were still techniques of true Buddha. This was clearly trying to imprison them for 100 years. Qin Mu yelled loudly, "Does my Buddha have scriptures of Emperor's throne? If you want to impart teachings, impart true teachings. If you want to impart scriptures, impart true scriptures. Our great Thunderclap monastery also has mere techniques." Dharma King's expression sank, and he said with a sneer, "How dare to underestimate my Kandra scriptures? How rude. I promise you Dharma and didn't even ask for incense money from you. I'm already very merciful, yet you still want to be picky." Monk Mingxin stood there and poked the devil ape that wasn't moving. Devil ape Zhong Kong took a step forward and his Sakra staff rattled. More fake. Less real. Dharma King Mo Lun was astonished and thought he wanted to debate with him. He carefully thought over the meaning of these 4 words and couldn't help feeling a headache. Hariti Buddha gave a cough and said, "Dharma King, they have come to seek true scripture, so just give them that." Dharma King sneered and said, "They are here to find a true scripture of the Emperor's throne. Where do I have one? Even Sakra Buddha doesn't have one, only Brahma Buddha have one." Brahma Buddha never asked about the worldly affairs, and he rarely makes an appearance once tens of thousands of years. I've come to the Buddha realm for so many years, yet I have never seen the true form of Brahma Buddha, much less a true technique of Emperor's throne. They are already gaining a huge benefit by not having to pay a cent for the Kandra scriptures I'm imparting to them. What he said was also fact and nobody could retort. The celestial heavens had already watched the Buddha realm for many years, and even though Buddha realm was under the celestial heavens jurisdiction by name, the supreme scripture of the Buddha realm, Brahma Buddha scripture, was never attained by the celestial heavens. The celestial heavens has more or less gotten hold of the scriptures of the other heavens. They had planted disciples into each realm to become sons of Buddhas, and these heavens were no mystery to the celestial heavens. All with the exception that was Brahma heaven. Brahma Buddha rarely showed his face, and he also didn't impart his teachings. When Devil Ape Zhong Kong had debated, the son of Buddha from Brahma heaven was also an ancient Buddha that was under Brahma Buddha. This son of Buddha had also not gotten the true teachings. Right at this moment, they heard the name of Buddha and a monk rushed down in a hurry. He landed on Amitabha monastery and greeted the numerous Buddhas. "Buddhas, Brahma Buddha has sent word to let the sons of Buddha of all realms and the lower bound to enter Brahma heaven. Old Buddha is ready to choose the outstanding one to impart his true teachings to." Dharma King Mo Lun was astonished and an expression of delight spread across his face. The celestial heavens has been eyeing Brahma Buddha's technique for a long time, and there was never a chance to get it. This time, Qin Mu, Mingxin and the devil ape coming to seek knowledge was instead a great chance for the celestial heavens to attain the technique of Emperor's throne. The celestial heavens has planted numerous powers in the Buddha realm, and there wasn't only him. Among many of the sons of Buddha, more than half were young talents that came down from the celestial heavens. They had entered the Buddha realm to seek knowledge. Crown Prince Guang was only his disciples, yet the number of sons of Buddhas in the Buddha realm was uncountable. As long as Brahma Buddha was willing to teach, the chance wouldn't land in the hands of these three country bumpkins and layperson. They would definitely fall into the hands of the celestial heavens. Dharma King Mo Lun's feelings became refreshed and he said with a smile, "In that case, order all the sons of Buddha to head towards Brahma heaven for a lecture." What do senior brothers think about this? All of the Buddhas also nodded their heads. Brahma Buddha imparting his skill was truly a rare opportunity, that only once every tens of thousands of years. Numerous disciples headed forward to seek knowledge, and they could also let the Buddhas witness the supreme art of Buddhism. Dharma King Mo Lun swept up Crown Prince Guang, and his body faded into emptiness. He sprinted straight for Brahma heaven. The other Buddhas also made their moves and returned back to their own heavens to bring the sons of Buddha towards Brahma heaven. Soon, Amitabha monastery was emptied out. What should we do to get to Brahma heaven? Qin Mu was still troubled about this when Sakra Buddha walked down his seat and took a stride towards them. This Buddha was barefooted, yet his feet couldn't be tainted with any dust as he walked on the ground. Light flowed behind his head, and he looked like a young monk that had delicate features. He looked at them warmly and said with a smile, "You guys have all cultivate my fist skills." Qin Mu and the rest hurriedly greeted, and the fist skill Sakra Buddha had mentioned was actually Thunderclap 8 strikes. After Qin Mu had learned Thunderclap 8 strikes from Old Ma, he had taught it to Devil Ape Zhong Kong. After Zhong Kong had learned it, he met Old Rulai who felt that they had fate, so he might as well teach him the entire Rulai's Mahayana Sutra. Whereas Monk Mingxin was taught Thunderclap 8 strikes by Old Monk Jingming, and Monk Jingming didn't learn it completely himself, so there was a flaw left behind. Afterward, Devil Ape Zhong Kong brought numerous demon monks of Little Thunderclap Monastery to Great Thunderclap Monastery to have a debate. No one could be compared to him, and Monk Mingxin hurried back when he heard the news. Even though he had still lost, he had still achieved glory. Old Ma imparted the complete Rulai's Mahayana Sutra to him, thus he also received the complete inheritance. Sakra Buddha said with a smile, "I'm also from the lower bound and I had become a Buddha in Great Thunderclap Monastery. You guys are also fated with me, let me bring you guys to Brahma heaven." A lotus cloud rose under his feet, and lifted the three people up. They gradually rose into the sky and passed through the clouds and the lightning. They rose higher and higher and passed through a layer of the world after another layer of the world. Qin Mu clicked his tongue in wonder, and only now did he saw it. The 20 heavens of Buddha realm was actually constructed around an unimaginably huge mountain. This mountain floated in the starry sky of the universe. There were mountains in the mountains, there were seas in the mountains, there were suns, moons, and stars that formed a world, having its own world barrier. And this world was then separated into 20 worlds, 20 heavens, one layer after another. Every layer had sun, moon, and stars circulating, and every layer had land, as well as Buddhist countries standing in numbers. If there wasn't Sakra Buddha bringing them along, they would probably take dozens of years to reach the peak of the mountain even if they flew at full speed. Sakra Buddha brought them to the peak of Brahma heaven. Brahma heaven was built on the peak of this gorgeous mountain, which was also called Golden Peak. There were 10,000 rays and it was forever daylight. There was no separation of night and day. In the golden cloud layer, mountains peeked out their tips and shone with golden light. It was actually sacred and solemn. Golden light formed numerous Sanskrit of Dharma, and they flowed continuously in the air, surrounding the mountain peaks, and creating quite a marvelous sight. When they came here, they even heard a widespread voice that resounded like the ringing of a huge bell. They didn't know if it was the voices of the Sanskrit of Dharma, or if it was the voices of all living things chanting that had traveled over here. Devil Ape Zhong Kong couldn't resist praising, pot, bun. Qin Mu nodded his head and praised, "It's indeed like the corns and buns after you open up the pot. This golden light is like the steam coming off from the hot bun." Sakra Buddha didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This example from Son of Buddha is quite close-fitting. This piece of forest is where Brahma Buddha is living in seclusion. Numerous sons of Buddha have already gone there. Let me send you guys over. He brought Qin Mu and the rest through layers of Sanskrit, and they flew into the center of the Golden Sea. They landed in a piece of forest, and it was extremely tranquil here. Level roads converged, and in the center was a monastery that didn't look very big. Hundreds of sons of Buddhas were already here, and the Buddhas that had brought them here had dispersed their apparitions of Buddha. They just looked like normal young and old monks, and it was evident they were all very respectful to Brahma Buddha. So many sons of Buddha. Qin Mu's heart leaped and he muttered, "How long must we fight to finally see Brahma Buddha? Can we go by the rules of great ruins?" Monk Mingxin and the Devil Ape shuddered. They remembered how Qin Mu had acted in the past, and they shook their heads in a panic. Mingxin hurriedly said, "Senior brother Qin, you cannot go by the rules of great ruins, it's too bloody and violent. This place is the supreme sacred ground of Buddhism, we can't be reckless." "What a pity." Qin Mu grumbled, "If we go according to the rules of great ruins, things would be much simpler. After we finish fighting, we will be able to learn the true scripture of the Emperor's throne, but now it's going to be troublesome." Sakra Buddha asked curiously, "What are the rules of great ruins?" The Devil Ape raised his hand and smeared it across his neck. He then grabbed his neck with both of his hands and did a twisting action. Sakra Buddha finally understood, and he said with a smile that was yet not a smile, "Stop playing around. Great Ruins is a barbaric place and this is the Buddha realm. How can the Buddhas tolerate if you start a massacre here?" The Devil Ape revealed a look of disappointment. Even though his wisdom was opened and he was a son of Buddha that was acclaimed for his high attainments in Dharma, he was still a life form of great ruins after all. The life forms of great ruins were mostly like Qin Mu. They were born wild and hard to tame, having a wild and free spirit. Even after living in eternal peace for so long, Qin Mu still misses the unrestrained days, much less for the Devil Ape. Sakra Buddha blinked his eyes and he said with a smile, "Even though I said you can't start a massacre, if someone else wants to kill you, it's also helpless if you kill them in retaliation. It can be forgiven. Even if someone goes after you, there will still be people supporting you." Qin Mu blinked his eyes and asked curiously, "I wonder who is this person who will support us?" The Buddha rays behind Sakra Buddha's head extinguished and became dim. He blinked his eyes and said, "There will naturally be people supporting you. So don't be afraid. Furthermore, I would also like to take a look at Brahma Buddha's technique. This is a rare chance, so I need to mingle into the sons of Buddha too. I might be able to just meet Brahma Buddha. I didn't take in any disciple, so I can only go personally." This Buddha wore a long yellow robe, and his body was well proportioned, making the robe look very loose as it hung to the ground. He liked to be barefooted, and when he extinguished his Buddha rays, he also looked like a son of Buddha. He didn't look like a person who was only inferior to Brahma Buddha in the Buddha realm. Even Buddha wants to fight for it. Monk Mingxin was flabbergasted and he cursed to himself. "If you come to fight, who is able to defeat you?" Qin Mu was suspicious and he looked at this Buddha and thought to himself, "It's the first time I've seen such a mischievous Buddha. Which of the other Buddhas isn't incomparably earnest? Why is he so active? His nature is like me. Qin Mu whispered, Mingxin, what's the origin of this Buddha? Mingxin shook his head. I've almost finished the Bible of Great Thunderclap Monastery, but there aren't many records of this Buddha. Qin Mu blinked his eyes and said with smile, Buddha, you said there is a person that will support us. Could that person be Buddha? Sakra Buddha blinked his eyes. I didn't say that. Qin Mu blinked his eyes and said, a monk cannot lie. Sakra Buddha blinked his eyes and said, I'm a Buddha, not a monk. Why should I lie? The two of them blinked at each other, and they then turned their head around to not look at each other. Monk Mingxin felt uneasy. Senior brother sure has big guts to look directly at Buddha. When we return, I must really teach him the different ways to die. Tired? Devil Ape Zhong Kong secretly asked Qin Mu. Qin Mu nodded his head. His tears were almost squeezed out, just now, yet Sakra Buddha had never let out any clue. His intention couldn't be read. Sakra Buddha was also rubbing his eyes, and it must be, because he had blinked his eyes too many times, so it wasn't comfortable as well. Qin Mu still held suspicion in his heart. Sakra Buddha's actions weren't like a Buddha at all. He had a very strong curiosity, and the way he did things were full of human emotions. Yet he was the Buddha of Sakra Heaven, an existence that was just inferior to Brahma Buddha. He didn't look like a person from the celestial heavens, and if he was, he would definitely not give them a good look. Yet Sakra Buddha seemed to be quite nice to Qin Mu and the rest, even pointing out that someone would help them. Right at this moment, a young monk walked out from the dilapidated monastery in front, and he asked. Devil Ape Zhong Kong walked out with huge steps and his voice boomed. Me? That monk raised his head and saw that devil ape that looked like a black pagoda. The devil ape looked awe-inspiring, and he hurriedly said, Senior brother, old Buddha said you have passed the test, he invites you in. Please follow me. Devil Ape Zhong Kong looked at Qin Mu and Mingxin. Qin Mu smiled and said, just go in first, I will find you later. Okay. The devil ape followed the monk, and entered the dilapidated monastery with wide steps. After a moment, that monk came out from the monastery again and looked around. He saw hundreds of sons of Buddha from every heaven, and it was truly a vast crowd. Beside them, there were even great Buddhas that were obviously here to fight for Brahma Buddha to impart his teachings and techniques. That monk said with a troubled expression, Old Buddha has said that too many of you are here, only 2 more people can enter at most. Discuss among yourself and see who shall enter. Sarasvati Buddha hurried said, has old Buddha said what kind of test must we pass to enter the monastery to listen to the lecture? That monk shook his head. Old Buddha didn't say, you guys just think of an idea by yourself and just do whatever you want. The Buddhas of the heavens muttered, and they gathered together to discuss. Qin Mu looked at Sakra Buddha behind him and he asked, Buddha, you said you are also from Great Thunderclap Monastery. May I ask how long have you been in the Buddha realm? Sakra Buddha said with a smile, you are trying to worm facts out from me, I won't say. What's this golden willow leaf on your forehead? Is it an accessory? It looks pretty. Qin Mu was about to explain, when Sakra Buddha had already taken the golden willow leaf down from his forehead without any warning. Qin Mu jumped in shock, and he stretched his hands out to want to grab it back. He had not seen how Sakra Buddha had made his move, but this golden willow leaf was extremely important, so he couldn't lose it no matter what. Sakra Buddha said with a smile, so it's a seal. This eye of yours is very powerful, why do you have to seal it? Qin Mu stretched his hands out and his face was black. This eye of mine is too powerful and terrifying things will happen if I execute my technique. I'm afraid of hurting people, therefore, it's sealed. Return my golden willow leaf to me. No way. Sakra Buddha said with a smile, I want to see your full abilities, so if I return it to you and you stick it back on your eye, that would be boring. Also, who told you this willow leaf can seal you? Have you tried it before? Qin Mu stretched his hands to snatch it back, but Sakra Buddha hurriedly avoided him. After struggling for a moment, Qin Mu shouted angrily, "If anything happens, it will all be your fault. I'll rub all the shit on that bald head of yours." Mingxin shuddered and he said with a shaky voice, "Senior brother Qin, there are many ways to die. I can teach them to you, you will definitely learn fast." Qin Mu couldn't snatch back his golden willow leaf, so he could only give up. He looked towards the Buddhas and saw that the Buddhas were still discussing. There were a few hundred sons of Buddha waiting quietly. His gaze flickered and he said with a low voice, "I have an idea to take the two places." Sakra Buddha rubbed his palms and said with a smile, "I know. You are planning to rush straight in while these Buddhas are discussing, am I right?" Qin Mu looked at him and he knew it was bad. He immediately rushed towards that dilapidated monastery, but it was already too late. Sakra Buddha was one step ahead of him, and his body transformed into a flowing light to rush into the monastery before Qin Mu. He slammed the door close and locked Qin Mu outside. He said with a chuckle, "Little friend Qin, thanks for your heads up, I'm in." That monk sitting beside the monastery said lazily, "Only one place is left." Numerous sons of Buddha and Buddhas were alarmed by Qin Mu and Sakra Buddha. When they heard one place was left, they couldn't sit still any longer. Who had entered? Dharma King Mo Lun's expression changed drastically, and he asked in a hurry. The other Buddhas also have blank expressions, as they didn't know who was actually so sneaky to rush into the monastery while they were discussing to seize a placing. Monk Mingxin stood where he was, and before he could even come to realization, he saw Qin Mu and Sakra Buddha had already rushed over. When both of them rushed to the door of the monastery, and he came to realization, the outcome was already determined. Sakra Buddha had locked Qin Mu outside the door. So this is the method senior brother Qin had mentioned. He came to a realization. Truly a great idea. But why did Buddha lock senior brother Qin outside? Wouldn't it be better that everyone goes in together? Qin Mu stood in front of the monastery and he shouted, "Sakra Buddha, you can enter but return that golden willow leaf to me. Without that golden willow leaf, I can't control my power and trouble will happen. Can you handle it if trouble happens?" "I can." In the monastery, Sakra Buddha's voice gradually went further and further away. "Just feel free to rub all the shit over my bald head." Qin Mu was furious, and he was about to say something when Monk Mingxin's face turned ashen. He said with a shaky voice, "Senior brother Qin, don't you want to know the many ways to die?" Qin Mu took in a deep breath, and he turned around. The anger on his face vanished, and what replaced it was an innocent smile, as he looked at all the sons of Buddhas that had unpleasant faces. "Senior brothers, I have a very big sarira here, do you want to take a look?" He took out a sword pellet, and the sword pellet flew into the sky to swirl rapidly. Qin Mu said loudly, "May senior brothers please give me face and let out this last placing to me. I will be forever grateful." Even though he said so, Qin Mu still felt slightly hesitant in his heart. He had never tried executing Overlord Body 3 elixir technique while his third eye was open. Granny Sai and Blind told him that he could only execute Overlord Body 3 elixir technique without any restraint with his third eye sealed. If his third eye was open, what was the result of executing Overlord Body 3 elixir technique? He had no idea at all. "Whatever, old Ma is the strictest to me, and he looked at me like how he looks at his son. I can understand that he had raised me up as his son and poured all his fatherly love into me." Qin Mu gritted his teeth and executed Overlord Body 3 elixir technique. His clothes and hair slowly fluttered up. "Whatever old Ma wanted, I need to help him get it. No matter if it's God or devil, as long as they stop me, I will kill whoever that's in my way. On the heart of his brows, Overlord Body 3 elixir technique circulated to his third eye, and this eye was extremely demonic. His eyelids parted to the sides and the structure of the formation markings in his eyes slowly circulated. Qin Mu looked over, and everyone, no matter if it was Buddha or human, their divine treasures were all incomparably clear, showing everything down to the last details. He was like a god of darkness that controlled life and death and looking at his prey. It seemed that even the air was giving off the scent of blood and austere. There was a cruel and headstrong spirit that suddenly poured out from his heart as he said calmly, "Fall back, everyone. If you come forward, your life and death will be disregarded." In the dilapidated monastery, Sakra Buddha was barefooted and he strolled around. He wasn't in a hurry to find Brahma Buddha. "Junior brother, what are you trying to do?" A voice came from behind. Sakra Buddha turned around and saw a sweeping monk that was sweeping his footprints. Sakra Buddha said with a smile, "I don't collect dust when I walk, just like how my tracks don't leave dirt behind. Since no footprints are left, why does senior brother need to sweep?" That sweeping monk said, "Your body doesn't leave a footprint behind, but your heart has left marks behind. I'm sweeping the dust on your heart." Sakra Buddha said, "You say my heart is dirty, you scold me. I can't beat you, so I won't bicker with you. Quickly impart your technique to me and I'll leave after learning it, sparing you from being annoyed by me." The sound of broom sweeping rang out, and Sakra Buddha looked over at the source of the sound. Another sweeping monk had entered from the west entrance, speaking as he swept the floor, "You always want to get my technique. Haven't you seen the reason why I didn't teach it to you? Junior brother, I didn't teach it to you, thus you have become Sakra Buddha today. Your Buddha realm is merely inferior to mine, and your technique has also reached the level of luminous sky. If I taught you, you might not have the attainments you have now." Sakra Buddha stared at this sweeping monk that had suddenly appeared and he said, "Now I can't go up and cultivate to the level of Emperor's throne. That's why I'm here to ask for your technique of Emperor's throne for reference. You said you will teach it to whoever that comes in, so here I am. Teach it to me and I won't disrupt your peace anymore." Another sweeping sound came from behind and Sakra Buddha turned around again. He saw another sweeping monk, and now there were 3 of them in this courtyard. His Dharma eyes were unrivaled. When he looked at these 3 sweeping monks, the monks actually looked different, and yet every one of them was actually Brahma Buddha. They were the true Brahma Buddha. The form of these Brahma Buddhas didn't look like gods. He was only a realm away from Brahma Buddha, yet he already couldn't understand Brahma Buddha. One realm was like a heavenly moat. Brahma Buddha was immeasurably deep, while he was just a shallow pond. That sweeping monk walked over while sweeping the floor. He didn't even raise his head. "There are not many people who can surpass you in Buddha realm. I already can't find a second one. You should be able to see that that child of Qin family has something weird under that eye. I have met that child of Qin family during my dream before. He was swallowing the ghosts of Yudu, and when I took a look at him, he even wanted to swallow me. He is the evilest and the fiercest being in this world. I was also around when Earth Count had sealed him. I saw him slowly growing up from an ordinary human that was sealed by Earth Count, witnessing him transforming from a mortal body into an overlord body. Now that you have taken down his golden willow leaf, you will probably cause quite a huge massacre." Sakra Buddha didn't want to hear him say anymore, and he just walked forward while shaking his head. "You should also know, over these recent years, the celestial heavens has been planting more and more people in the Buddha realm. In the past, the celestial heavens had placed people that had cultivated to Buddha. They were more or less giving face, but now they have been arranging young talents in that don't even cultivate Dharma. They only cultivate divine arts, and if their cultivation reaches, this Buddha realm will truly be dead. I can also see our Buddhas being exterminated and our nest being overtaken. In the future, the celestial heavens will bath Buddha realm with blood and there will be no Buddha in the Buddha realm. You are waiting and not doing anything, but I'm not willing for the path to become extinct like this. After walking a few steps, there was another sweeping monk that was waiting for him. Sakra Buddha ignored him, and he just walked past him. The child of Qin family entering the Buddha realm is a huge chance. We can borrow his power to get rid of all the eyes and younger generations that are placed here by the celestial heavens in one go. You have great wisdom, so you naturally can see what I'm thinking. He didn't walk many steps when there was another sweeping monk. In just a sentence, he had passed by over a dozen monks that were sweeping the floor. In front, a sweeping monk on the left of the path raised his head, and he propped up his broom. You borrowing the hands of the child of the Qin family to get rid of the people planted into the celestial heavens is truly marvelous, but this would also bring many changes to my Buddha realm. If the celestial heavens wants an answer, they will definitely investigate their way to you. Just now, the child of the Qin family had said to rub the shit on your head, but you might not be able to take this shit. You still can't forget about the past. If I forget the past, wouldn't the past cease to exist? Sakra Buddha continued to walk forward with a chuckle. Your realm is too high, you forget the past and think that it's fabricated, but I remember them clearly. Don't worry, I won't implicate the Buddha realm. I will learn your technique and after the shit is on me, I will leave. Another sweeping monk on the right side of the road raised his head up and said, "What about son of Qin? I roamed around in my dreams and I looked at him grow. I know how hard-working he was to be able to break out of Earth Count's seal, from not being able to cultivate to now. Yet you are pushing him to the stage. You will bring a lot of danger to him. Senior brother, I also like to stand at the front of the stage, but there's no one pushing me forward." Sakra Buddha asked him, "In that case, do you have a better plan to preserve the tradition of Buddhism?" In front of him, another sweeping monk raised his head. No. The road in front was a straight line that was endless and the end couldn't be seen, yet on both sides were old monks that held brooms. They were countless and no end could be seen. These faces that were sweeping the ground were all different, and there was not one that was repeated. This video will end here.